Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours for November. Hope everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving and are not still full, although everyone probably still has leftovers. So usual today, we're recording. We'll send this out to everybody to make it available. This session, we're going to talk about kind of group editing of records, like spreadsheet editing. And next month, we're going to do kind of a year in review and go over some of the new updates that are available that have been put on. I'll talk about them a little bit at the end of this one, just to let you know that they're there and so your screens don't look weird to you. And then we'll go more in depth next month. And next year, the sessions will probably follow the same pattern. We're probably going to do whatever this is, fourth Monday in the month or whatever, probably around the same time. So seems to work out okay, and we're recording anyway. So we're going to get into, so this is something that I knew existed in the system and I hadn't used it, or I hadn't told you guys about it because it had been kind of glitchy with me. But Seth went into it and explained it at the in-person training last month. And it is working much smoother and seems more stable. So it's something that's going to be a useful tool for you guys to do like spreadsheet style editing rather than having to go into each individual record. So we're going to go into, we'll use the sandbox in Fairfield like normal. Probably try to mostly use the sandbox, but we can go into Fairfield if we need to. Let me find us. There we go. Okay, so just going to go into the general. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, if you go into the sandbox for anything, I think I put it in the newsletter, but the login changed. So the username is still administrator and the password is now Trylon39. So it's TRYLON 39. Also, any of the updates that were done to the regular systems have all been done in the sandbox too, so you should be able to use those. There are a couple pages in there right now that I'm testing other things on, so where there says test only, just don't ignore those. Log on. Oh, one other little tweak that was kind of cool that Seth showed us that I did not know existed at all. So usually everybody has the counts up in the upper, well, wherever on your dashboard. We set everybody's system up with that, whether you choose to keep that in your own profile or not, it's up to you. I find it really useful. And it sets it up as, you know, objects, entities, occurrences, things like that. You can also do like a sub count of things. So you'll see here where it's got 27 collections, 28 series, 4 sub-series, 55 files, all this. If you go into edit dashboard and click on the little, you know, more information screen on counts, there's a little bunch of little buttons. One that says show count for object lock or objects broken out by type. It does it for all of them. If you click that and then click save, and remember to scroll up. Now, when you look at your counts up here, you've got 704 physical objects, 2 audio, 93 still images, 11 documents, and 2 books. So it breaks it out into the individual types, which I think is kind of useful. You don't have to, you can do it however you want or take those off, Gesundheit. But I think it's kind of useful to see how many beats you have in there sometimes. So we're going to go into, and you can get directly to them. So if you wanted to go to just your still images, you can click on this and it'll go to just your still images, or just your documents, things like that, without having to go do the whole search and then filter. Let's go into still images just for kicks. Shockingly, mostly Fairfield stuff. Okay. So when you're in your display, like your spreadsheet style display with this, it doesn't matter which display you're using, if it's like a custom display or one of the canned ones or anything like that. There's a little thing up here. So they've started to just call it the Waffle. I said that's a pretty good name, so I'm going to stick with that. So this is the edit in spreadsheet view. So when you click onto that, so this is your regular one. You can't really edit in here. You can't do anything. You can sort and stuff, but that's about it. When you go into this, you get a different screen, same spreadsheet style, but now you can go in and edit things in here. So if you want to say, change your title, or I don't want that TIFF thing there, so you can go in and delete that. You don't have to hit save or anything, just go on to your next one. Change your title, do whatever you want, hit enter, go to the next thing all the way down. So you don't have to go into each individual record and each individual thing. You can kind of do it all at once. This is really useful if you've got something that's, you know, has a lot of repetitive information, like this, because we had an intern enter all these at Fairfield. This is before any of the cleanup. So we told them to use the title of the picture they were added to the record, so they used it with the TIFF in all of them. Okay, that's good enough for now. So you don't have to hit save or anything, unlike the rest of the system where you have to hit save no matter what. This is changing on the fly. So then click the close, and now if you go in, sometimes it'll take a minute to go through. I don't know if I did that one. And you could go in and it'll change it. And let me go next and back and say, yeah, see, now our TIFF thing is gone from the titles. It won't show up immediately. Like navigate away and back or give it a second. I'd say refresh, but you know how refresh gets with the browser. Sometimes it sends you off somewhere. But now all your little weird TIFF things are gone from the titles that we just took off. So it's an easy way to go in and update all of that kind of thing. So the other thing it's useful for a lot of stuff that you need to bulk change or have a set of things to go and add to. So much like this screen and your reports and exports and things like that, the fields that you'll see available once you go into the editing the Waffle are what are in your display. So if you're right now, I think we're probably in general. Oh, object checklist for something. So if we go to like registrar info, for instance, which this is one of my custom Fairfield ones, but made sure it was in here too, because it's useful. And you've got object status, dimensions, entities, credit line. So if you go into this, say you have a bunch of stuff that however it happened, your credit line needs to get added to everything. So we're going to type in. So we've got that. Now you can also, if you've got all the same information and it's just a free text field like this, just go down and it'll copy everything down just like you're in an Excel sheet or any other kind of spreadsheet. So it's, you know, similar to the idea of doing a batch edit and adding things all at once, but you don't have to create a set. You can just go in and add it and put on to everything. I don't know if there's okay, so we're going to leave her here because we already have people in that for now. So if we close that, I'm going to do what I did last time, kind of go forward and go back. Oh, so now I've got like the first one and the rest of them will probably add in and populate as you go. And this may be where I thought that it wasn't super responsive last time, but it might just be because, oh, you know what? I wonder if I have to hit enter. Hold on, let me go back to this for a second. I don't think I do. Let me try that. I just hit it. Oh, save changes. Okay. I forgot that thing shows up there. I have to hit enter on all of them. I'm going to leave it for a second. So if it doesn't take, go in and just hit enter on all of them and you'll go in and have it added. But definitely don't worry about it. Yeah. we'll try that. I just went into the field and just hit enter on all of it. Oh, and I didn't go back yet. Hold on. Okay, now she's showing up. So you can probably fill in like that, but just click into the field, hit enter to go down to the next field. That seems to work better. I don't know if that's a set thing on all of it, but when in doubt, if you're doing that, it'll take you 2 seconds to do that. And it'll still be shorter than going in and creating a set and doing all that if you've just got a handful of records. If you've got like a couple hundred records to edit like that, I would go in and do it with the batch edit in the sets. I think it honestly works best for stuff like that titles thing. I'm just getting rid of like, oh, I know these are all wrong. I can just do that and it's fine. When you go in to some of the fields that have like an authority in them, sometimes it'll say it and have, it's out of that for a second, and it'll have like this, so it'll be like more of an edit. You'll know that it's an authority. So you go in and it gives you the option to like change the title type and things down there. It'll open up that whole assistant window. Doesn't do it in like titles because that's such a free text field, but things where there's a type assigned that you need to put in, it'll open up the assistant window. Like related entities. It'll open up that assistant window so you can go in and change the created by or the type or anything like that. Yeah. So we put Mabel in as the donor, so we're going to add her with this too. So save, and again, I mean, it's a balance on what you want to do versus whether you use lots in a batch edit or sets in a batch edit, or whether you go in and do it one by one. It really depends on the type of data you're working with. Dates, again, this is going to have a type, so it goes into a specific thing. No, that's okay. Okay, back to this for a second. Let's go to our entities. This is available across a lot of the modules. I don't want to say all of them, but it's probably available in all of them. Any place you have a display in like a spreadsheet view, you can do this way. So you can go to your edit and do this and put your people in and your dates and biographies and things like that. Something like this, we're going to have biography, which is going to be each to an individual person, may not be as useful. Maybe it will. I don't know. Like I said, it's very much depends on the type of information you want to add. And this is just the basic information, related objects. You can add in objects to everything, same as you would when you're in that person's record in relationships. If you've got a list of things that you know are added to somebody's info, you can do this all at once. I like just putting fake information on, making up stuff as you go. So now I've got a bunch of things added to one of the records, all of those all together. And it's, again, if you needed to go in and change anything and say, oh, wait, he wasn't the creator, he was the donor, we can go in and change that like you can in a regular record. So in theory, if we go into relationships in his record, sorry for like hopping around all over the place, we can slow down and go into individual things if you want. But now he's listed as this donor of the samplers and all that in here. Without having to go in and do each individual thing, you can kind of do it all at the same time from that spreadsheet edit screen. I don't know how many displays we have in here. Well, this is a good one too, especially if you've got entity names that you want to fix. And you know you have a list of people that you can change or update. You can go into this and say, and put their names in here, and it'll change their display name, or add alternate names from here. So a lot of the time, if I've got married women's names in here that I haven't found their maiden name or like their own name yet, I'll still put an alternate name as, or entered their married name, like their Mrs. John Smith, as their married name, so I don't have to change it later and it'll still show up. This is just like a weird little cataloging quirk that I have. So like Mrs. Myrtle, actually, let me find a guy, Mrs. Henry. So I'm still going to put in her, this is like a married name. So then at some point, what was her last name? Anybody? I can't remember what it was. Spellman? So I'm going to put that in as her married name. So now she has the same, in the entity name is the alternate, but at some point, if I go in and figure out that her name was Abigail, now I can put that in and I don't have to worry about moving that married name over into the right thing because it's already in there. That's just a weird, it's trying to save myself work down the road, because that, as we probably all know from putting records in, the women's actual names weren't always that important, even though they're super important to us. And a lot of the time in all of the records, it's still written out as Mrs. Charles Parker, Mrs. Ira Warner, that kind of thing. So you still want to be able to search on those and find them. This is just like a quick little time saver thing for me that I usually do. This one's also handy too, that you can do the female male thing. We've talked about this before a little bit. I like putting this in mostly for sorting out oldie timey names, not even necessarily current, unless somebody's got a like a really unusual name. And I know I've said for ages, like my Romanta Woodward name that I had ages ago, I was looking for a portrait of Romanta, and I'm on the painting racks down in storage and I'm looking everywhere. And this is like a, 19th century painting. And I'm looking all over creation. I'm like, I can't find this woman. What is going on? And I went back into the record and looked it up, and it's a guy, because who would have thought the name Romanta would belong to a guy? But I went and looked back down in painting storage and found him in 2 seconds, because I look for the guy, not the woman. So for things like that, I find this really useful to put in. And I think this is just is it a free type one? No, I can't on this one, and I don't know why. So that's interesting. But in theory, you could. That might be another setting. I wonder if I can try.
You know what, Diane? It's Rebecca.
Yes.
It's also good for when people have a name like Chris or Tracy.
Exactly.
Or that could go anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And I look at it as for putting addressing letters and things like that. And as being the collections manager at my institutions, having to go in and figure that out, because I'll get forms and I'll go back and ask the person who filled out the form initially. I'm like, is this a guy or a woman? Mm-hmm. And they'll be like looking at me funny. I'm like, their name is Chris. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to say, dear Miss so-and-so, and it's a guy and he's super offended.
I had that. We were trying to figure out how many women graduates there were, like in 1972, and it was just a list because there were no photos that year. And it was really hard to determine.
It's the old joke from like Saturday Night Live. It's like Chris and Pat and all these other ones. You're just like, I need help on this. I'll have to look and see why the gender one's not editable on this. Life dates. I'm surprised that's not a, oh no, because it's life dates. I'm gonna say I'm surprised it's not an authority one, but life dates are life dates. It's not like I need to put the type life date in there. Okay, so that's all those. Oh, let me make a note to go back and check this one. All right, close that guy. Let's go to exhibits and try this one. Oh, I didn't check my, and you will do this all the time too. If you don't check what your display is. Oh, I don't have any other ones in this one. If you don't check what your display is, you're going to look for a field and be like, it won't be there. And you're like, oh, wait, I need to go to the whatever display for this. Oh, side note on this count thing too. When you get into manuscript and archival collections, a lot of the time, if you just search for the collection type as like the main collection, you'll still get all of these other things. This is a really super easy way in the counts to go right to just the main collection and go in there, and you'll get your 161 collections without having to go into like subseries, whatever, and file B and all that. Okay. Let's going into exhibitions. Oh, actually, this is the perfect one because I want exhibition location. That I'm not seeing in this part. Oh, incomplete. I actually don't want to mess with this one too much. So I don't know why the exhibition location is not coming up. I'll have to check that one too. Because like I said, I haven't used this in a really long time, so I haven't run it through all its bases. So if you guys use it for anything and something wonky doesn't show up or something that you want to see doesn't show up, let me know. And we'll track it down. I'll look at this stuff and I'll let you know too. Because it may just be a tick box somewhere that's not checked off because we haven't really used it yet. Try another one and see what this one does, because that would be interesting. Oh yeah, see now my exhibition location shows up. Weird. Okay. So we can change any of these too. Like if I went through and had put all of, I differentiated Fairfield by when we were at the Fairfield Historical Society in our old building versus the Fairfield Museum and History Center in the new building. I differentiate between those because it gives me an idea really quickly of where it was. And you can put all that information there. So anything with that free text, you should be able to do. Oh, yeah, here, like your identifier to go. Anytime you have that authority-ish type of field, it'll go in and make you do it. But it should be available in all the systems or in all the different modules. So even if you do something silly, like you wanted to capitalize something, you can go in and fix it. Or if you come up with a different nickname for something, anything that you want to do, like a quickie change without having to go in and, you know, that you want to be able to see all the information all together. You know, I didn't try this. I don't know if you can sort it from here. I don't know that you can. Oh, you can. So that's handy. So you can go through and sort all the information from here and then fix it however you want to. So even going to like, objects. And if we wanted to do this, oh, actually, no, I want to stay here. So if we go into the edit and spreadsheet, and I'm like, oh, if I'm meant to sort by the identifier, you should be able to, yeah, you can sort by there and fix it, or sort by object titles. Scott, I haven't tried locations from here yet, so I'm not sure how it works from this part. Let me do my, all right, I'm not in Fairfield, I'm here. But it should be the same thing. Just related and location, it's okay. So I don't know how it works with locations yet, which would be super handy, but I haven't tried it. So we'll play with that at some point. Does anybody have any questions on this? How to use it, possible uses, anything like that?
No, it just seems like a useful way to do mass edits.
Yes, yes, without having to go through and create the set.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's super handy, but I always feel like going in to create the set is a bit of another step that you have to take that you don't really want to, that you're like, I have my stuff right here that I want to change. How come I can't change it? Yeah, so I think it's pretty, even like location notes, putting that in and saying like temporary.
Hey, Diane,
Yeah.
can you do this as a batch deaccessioning?
Probably. For what kind of information? Like to mark that
just-
something's deaccessioned?
Sure, something like that. Or if like you're sending everything to another historical society for disposition, if it could do something like that even.
It's a good question. Some of that, and I know we were talking about, because we had talked about that a little bit, some of that I would probably still do with sets.
Yeah.
Let me see what I have on here for displays. I just have the one deaccession review, because this would be something that, especially if you have something really specific that you want to do, making sure that you have the right display so you see the information you want is probably, you will have to do that first. I don't remember what's here, deaccession. There's a yes, no in here, I think. Yeah, so data deaccession, we'll see. I keep looking, make sure I'm still in the sandbox and I'm not screening their fields.
Good call.
Never hurts to check 30 times.
Yeah.
I think you should be able to do copy paste as well. I'm just doing Control C, Control V. But I am going to go in and do that. Just hit enter. Yeah, see, when you hit enter, then that save changes comes up there. So that's probably the way to do it. So, oh, I don't want to deaccession this. I'm gonna have to change that. Admin. So I think you would have to do something that has the deaccession status checked off so it can go in and, oh, so that's interesting. So I didn't have deaccession status checked off, but that date of deaccession did get entered. So it's kind of a shortcut, because theoretically you would want to check that box anyway,
Right.
to make sure that. So if you honestly, for going somewhere to like a disposal thing, if you do a custom display that has all of this deaccession information on it, you'd be able to do like a group deaccession notes. Or if you have a bunch of things like all the bodices went to the Shelburne Museum and all of the forks went to the Silverware Museum, if you have stuff like that that's repetitive, you can just do, but you know it by groups, you could do it that way. If you have something that it's all going to the same place, I would still probably go with sets, but this can be really handy. Plus, honestly, it can be really handy for seeing what doesn't have information. You'll have, I'm gonna not make him deaccessioned first because I like this record because I know that it's there. Oh, I didn't save it. Perfect. Now I'll save it. Now he's deaccessioned again. Stop being deaccessioned. I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. So Yeah, if you have a very specific thing like that, and you want to be able to enter it in or go through the list and see, sort by the type to see what's marked as deaccessioned, what's not, what's got a credit line, what doesn't, it's an easy way of doing that. And go down from there. Or if this is actually really good for credit lines, because if you've decided that, you don't want to use the ampersand anymore because it's weird in computers, that's an easy way to see what's got it and what doesn't. There's ways of searching and browsing and all of that using quotes, but honestly, this is a really good way to highlight the whole thing. There we go. Choose to go down and do it. And I'm just entering. We can play with it and see what it takes and what it doesn't versus editing and stuff, or entering, but I don't want to take the time there. So now you've got to change to Mr. and spelled out rather than the ampersand, because you can also see when I went into that record with the ampersand, how the computer looked at it, that it has that weird little code in there, because just nature of that symbol in text coding language, you have to enter a certain symbol to get to see the little ampersand. So in my mind, just typing out and is going to be much easier in the long run. Cool. So I'll give to Mabel's, and I'm on another record. So yeah, now we've got Mr. and spelled out Mrs. George Pratt for a bunch of those. Yeah, there's the other ones down there. So it's just kind of, play with it. You can go into Sandbox, obviously, and play with it. And again, it really depends on what your display is and what kind of stuff you want to do. So plus and minus of there's 18 million different ways to do things. You just have to figure out what's going to be the worst or the best way to do it and the easiest for you to do it. Any other questions about that at the moment? So for regular question and answer, I'm going to keep recording this time because I'm just going to do a quick jump around to show you the updates that just came in last week. Just go to the regular one. So we updated a couple things in locations. So if you're in an object and go to location, you will now see this inventory thing at the bottom. So you can add inventory entry. I'm going to be doing this a lot because I just had a collections move week before last, and I need to double check that stuff is where it needs to be. This is what we were talking about when some of you jumped on today, is that I stole this or copied it from Minnesota because she had this up on her system, and I went, this is perfect because I know a lot of people who are looking at doing inventories or need to do inventories, and this is a perfectly good way of doing it and just double checking that something's there. So you can do inventory by. I'm just going to use it as confirming that something's there. And this is linked to your authority. So you will have to put whoever's doing it in as an authority person, as an entity. And date, I'm going to say this was there last week when I did the move. And then that's also, you can add multiple entries. I don't know if Chelsea's in here yet. And it'll be, it's whoever you want to put in here. So Minnie Mouse last saw this in 2019. Oh, it flipped it on me, that's why. Oh, that's interesting. I put her Minnie Mouse is a her ID number in. Yeah, so now you'll have a list of, as you go through, if you have a spot check inventory every once in a while, you can go in and say like, oh, this person saw it last in like 2023, so it should still be there. So it's a really useful way to do that. And you'll, I haven't messed with adding this to reports or anything yet because we just rolled this out last week. So
So Diane, could
Yes.
you merge this with what we were just looking at, the mass editing by spreadsheet?
I don't
Would
see
you
why
like?
not. I don't see why not. I haven't tried it yet, but it's
Because
worth a
that way you
shot.
could go get all this stuff in a certain location and say, Scott Benowitz edited all these, inventory these on the state.
You can probably in the spreadsheet, you should be able to do it by batch edit as well.
Okay.
I'm just gonna click display just to see how well that works. Yes, display, save. We'll just see if it's in there. It should be. Because he literally did this like Friday, I think. I don't think he did it on actual Thanksgiving. I think he did it Friday. Location. Is there any other location? Oh, I know I saw inventory on something when I was trying to set it for somebody else. Inventory, there we go. Good enough. So if we go to our objects, go to our inventory display, which will be like 2 fields. Yeah, so it'll still make you go in and add each person individually. So this might be a spot where you want to do a set batch edit versus the spreadsheet edit, because otherwise you're going to have to go into each individual thing. And I don't think it'll do, I don't think it'll copy if you just have something already filled in, but we'll see. Hold on. No, because I think anytime you click into this, it just automatically goes to that. Yeah. So I would recommend for something like that, Scott, when you want to batch edit the inventory, to do it in sets and all that, which you should be able to do.
Yeah, and making the set's going to be easy because now I've tried out on my system that you can group things by current location. So it'd be easy to do all that, make a set of those results, and then do a batch edit.
Yeah, exactly. Because anything in your batch edit that you've got visible in your regular data entry screen is going to be in batch edit because it echoes that. So if you're going into location and you want to do all of this, add to each item, you can put that in. And that's just where you have to be careful with if you're updating it on a regular basis, that you're going to add to each item versus replace or remove. So just add, so that'll give you that running list of inventory. So you can say yearly it's done. Jody, this might be good for you too, for I know you have inventories and things like that you need to run for auditors. So
yep, I'm taking copious notes.
Excellent. Excellent. So we'll get out of that. All right, so there was that in the inventory stuff there. There's also, and this has been out for a bit, but I just wanted to point it out to everybody. The provenance and rights, there is a rights statement down here. So when you go under here, you've got provenance, ownership, rights, like your own general rights and restrictions, copyright, rights holder statements, and there's the or rights holder, and then the rights statement. These are made to match up with Connecticut Digital Archive, because one of the things that they require when you add records is a rights statement to say if something's in copyright, not in copyright, etc. So if you have something, especially stuff that you know is in copyright, you can add this onto your information. The default is going to be for stuff that gets added to CTGA. If you have not done this, it's fine. Because nobody's got time necessarily to go through and do rights statements for all of their things. Is things will go in as copyright undetermined. So that basically will put the onus on anybody wanting to look at the image or use it or things like that. And you can obviously always go in and change that. And these are all terms that were added from rightstatements.org. and vetted by CTDA is like the most thing. I think they've expanded this a little bit, but these are originally the 6 basic that they started off with. So if there's, so you could put something like in copyright, if you have like artists that's still alive and still in copyright, you can say in copyright, and then put your, the copyright statement, copyright of John Smith or something like that there, for stuff that you want to be diligent about. Westpac, I'm guessing you may have some of these that you would want to do, and I know Matitech probably would. Charlotte, maybe you at Housatonic. It's, it's kind of laborious, but it's something that you can go through and do and add in. Again, you could probably do this in the spreadsheet view and sort it by your entity and kind of go from there. So there's a lot of uses for that. So I'm still in the sandbox, so it doesn't matter if I save that. Yeah, so that's one of the other ones that was added. Oh, I was going to show you the browse for the current location thing. Sorry. So if you want to find what is in a specific spot, so if you want to go your objects, go to browse and go to current location selection there. So you can go in and I can see everything that is currently in the barn at Fairfields. Actually, I should do it in actual Fairfields. Hold on. So find objects, browse by current location. This is the easiest thing for me to look at Fairfield because there's been things going in and out of our barn for a million years. And I would always put this on and be like, that is totally not there. I just moved that into the other gallery the other day. Victorian barn. And I know there's only 36 objects. I know these are all still in there. So that's an easy way for me to go to check this current thing. So you should be able to go there. It's not going to show you, it'll show you over here anything that it's ever been related to. So you can see that this fruit jar has also been in this location, and this sieve is, been in the main gallery and other places. But if you want current location, it'll give you that right there.
And also I noticed that you can sort by current location column now. That's very useful too.
Yeah, he made sure to put that in as well. So finally, Scott, it's only been like 2 years, but we finally got it in here.
Yay.
Yeah, so those are the big updates. We'll probably talk about those a little bit more next week as far as, the home locations and all that again, because I kind of feel like you can't talk about locations enough because it's such like an integral part to what we all do to make sure we can find the thing, that going in and talking about home locations and current and all that stuff is a really good idea. So, okay, I'm going to stop recording. Ooh, I'm going to stop sharing first. There we go. Does anybody have any